Director of the Health Department.
That happens every weekend. They come out and they're all through.
All right, let's go ahead and get started back.
He's aggravating me.
All right, Director of the Health Department is Dr. Hodgin. Dr. Hodgin, we're glad to have you. Director Hodgin. We're not going to make him a doctor too quick, are we? I corrected that, Chris. So.
Good evening. I wanted to give you a couple updates on where we are with our COVID response, and then actually switch gears a little bit, talk about something else for a change as I wrap up here. But just to bring it to speed on the latest numbers as of Friday, here in Washington County, we've got 291 active cases, with just 12 new cases showing on Friday. So if you're watching this epi curve like I have with this Delta spike over the last month to 6 weeks, it went up real fast and it's coming down about the same on the backside. So looks like we're coming through this. All the numbers are down and down quickly. So to give you some idea what I'm talking about, daily case rates per 100,000 people, the 7-day average is down to 17 from 59 this time last month. And then the 14 days, 23 down from 76 this time last month. So it's coming down rapidly. We're looking better and better every day. Positivity data is also down quite a bit. It was 17% when I stood up here last month talking to you. It's down to 9% as of today. So also all good news on that front as well. Vaccine rates in the county sitting right at 55% fully vaccinated, 60 with at least one dose in the county. So the numbers there are looking up as well. To give you some perspective on that, the state average is 48% fully vaccinated, and we're sitting about 55. So doing well there. Probably a question on most of your minds. If you haven't seen it already, Friday, looks like we have boosters across the board now that have been authorized. Moderna as well as the Johnson & Johnson joined Pfizer. We have some protocol started offering those today at the health department, and the rules have changed up a little bit. When Pfizer first hit the street, we were saying, look, if you had Moderna, wait, get Moderna. Over the last month, I guess the discussion has come around that you can mix and match these things. So that's the latest guidance that we do have. They're all a little bit different when it comes to the dosing and that kind of thing for a booster. How we go about giving them is all the same. It's just a different dosage if it's Moderna. So if you have any questions on that, I can answer those. But for the most part, if you either had Moderna or Pfizer and you have a completed series and you're looking for a booster, if you're 6 months past your second dose, then you're essentially eligible for a booster shot.
And what days are you doing those at the health department?
We're offering vaccine every day.
Every day?
From 8 to 4 every day, or 8:30 to 4 o'clock every day inside the health department there.
All right. Do they need to call and make an appointment?
We have an appointment system. It's the same VRAS system we were using for the initial doses. You don't have to. You can walk in and come see us. But we do, the appointment system helps us plan. But aside from that, if you want to come see me, come see me.
Okay.
And then actually moving on to something not COVID. It is flu season. We sort of skipped over it last year with all the issues that we were having dealing with COVID, flu line. If you look at the epi curve, it was pretty flat last year with all the precautions we were taking for other reasons. But don't want to forget about the flu. It's coming in the season again, and we are now offering a flu vaccine as well. We have 2 flu pods that we have going on this week, tomorrow from 2:30 to 5:30, and the same thing on Thursday. And then we'll do our actual, like, no kidding, Fight Flu TN 2021 kickoff will be on November 9th. So we're going to get going on that one as well.
All right.
All right. And that's about all I have for you this evening.
Any questions for Director Hodgin? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Director of Schools report to Director Board. I appreciate you calling and letting me know you'd be late, but that was about 2 hours ago, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
So that's kind of on us, isn't it?
That's all right, I just wanted you to know.
I appreciate you doing that, thank you.
I've shared with you just an update, and again, if there's anything that I'm not providing and you would like to see in those monthly updates, please feel free to reach out to me. I certainly would be glad to add or refocus some of the information. The big information that was in there was, our approval of the ESSER 3.0 funds. We got official approval on that, and we're moving forward with everything that's been put out there from the upgrades in the HVAC systems at the high school, as well as a lot of other instructional materials and supports and personnel, both academic support personnel as well as some mental health supports that we had in our plan that was approved. So moving forward, we hope to be able to find qualified applicants out there. We know it's going to be tough, but we're going to move forward with that. The other thing, the big news that you're all aware of too, we certainly look forward to the ceremony, the official formal ceremony for the groundbreaking of the Jonesboro Elementary School project between, the Jonesboro City, the Washington County Commission, and the Board of Education. Look forward to that. It's just that very visible indication of progress. Hopefully we'll see that come about soon. And then on the radar is, we'd said once we got our ESSER plan approved, we were going to be presenting, and we'll start with you soon, with our updated 5-year educational capital fund spending plan for FY22 this year all the way through FY26. We'll be presenting that and moving that into you and hopefully on to you, the full commission at some point. But if there are any questions I can answer for, I do want to call out to a couple of commissioners, Mr. Huffine and Mr. Wheeler, for having the chance to join us on our school visits. We've had 8, and we have 6 more, and we have the 2 high schools are Thursday. So if you have the opportunity, we're at Crockett in the morning, and then we transition to Boone in the afternoon. Those are longer visits just because of high school programming, but you're welcome to come. And the last ones as well. Yes, ma'am.
What's the timing on the transition?
Right now, we're going to try to leave Crockett about between 10:45 and 11 so that we head to Boone. And so we should be at Boone by 11:30.
I might be able to make it
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Yes, Commissioner Huffine.
Just wanted to thank you for extending that invitation. I really, truly wish every citizen in Washington County had that opportunity. It is incredible, phenomenal, the dedication and the work that these people are doing in our school systems. I'm just totally amazed at everything that I saw out there. If people had the opportunity to see that, the pride level in our school system would rocket. And thank you again for everything you do, but most importantly, thanks to everyone out there in every one of those schools for everything they do every single day. Truly, truly appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and certainly the credit goes to the schools, our teachers, and our instructional assistants, and all the school staff from the office and the principals, ensuring that the visits we asked them to be quote a normal day, and we didn't want any kind of anything to misrepresent what happens in school. So we really want to focus on classroom instruction, and I believe that's what we've been able to do, and the teachers have done an outstanding job of just trying to continue with their work and keep the students focused as they have several visitors walking in their classroom asking questions of students while they're trying to focus on the teacher. So it's
some absolutely phenomenal leadership by the students out there. It is so impressive to know that we have young generations of leaders that are coming up, and the pride that they're taking in their school. Again, truly appreciate it. Thank you very much.
They've done a great job. Some of them have been really strict taskmasters. They've kept us on schedule. So the student leaders have been outstanding. You're right. I agree.
And I especially have the first grader that came up, started introducing himself to everyone. So
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you. Is there any other questions? Well, thank you all.
Thank you, Director Board. The next item is the Commercial, Industrial, and Agricultural Committee. Commissioner Kerrigan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We met on October the 7th, and the minutes are on page 55, and I'll be glad to answer any questions anybody has at this time. And that ends our report, Mr.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, our next item is the Health, Education, and Welfare Committee. Commissioner Jones?
Thank you, Chairman.
The committee met on October 7th, and you can find the meeting and relevant attachments on page 85 in your packet. The first item I have tonight for your consideration is Resolution Number 21-1003, resolution appointing a member to the Washington County Library Board. That resolution comes to you with a recommendation from the HUE Committee, and I bring it forward in the form of a motion.
A motion, we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Huffine. Questions or discussion?
Call question.
Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, please. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 15 yes, and the resolution passes. Commissioner Jones?
Yes, before I forget, I wanted to just make a note of a change. Our committee will meet on November 1st at 4 p.m., which is a week from today. It's out of order for normal because of some travel to the county commissioners meeting statewide in Memphis next week. So if you're on the HUE Committee, we're meeting Monday at 4, or anyone who would like to join us. And then also for your consideration, Resolution Number 21-1004, resolution encouraging local, state, and federal government to refrain from assuming a role in private business through COVID-related regulation. And that comes to you with a recommendation from the committee, but I'm sure it will surprise no one that I plan to vote no, and then I find it discouraging to see this particular resolution coming from a committee that's designed to protect the health and welfare of our citizens.
Commissioner Wheeler?
Mr. Chairman, I feel very strongly that I don't think any level of government should be mandating either way. And I want to make it clear that this motion came from my motion at the committee, and it cuts both directions. And I think if you let it go one direction, you open the door for the other. So that's why I made the motion in the committee and would move to approve this resolution.
Second. A motion to approve by Commissioner Wheeler, seconded by Commissioner Edens to approve the resolution. Commissioner Tester?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know people have strong feelings on both sides of this issue. That was very clear during public comment, and I just want to sincerely thank each person who spoke on both sides. I thank you for caring and being involved in your local government. But whether one agrees with the idea of this proposed mandate or not, to me, it would be a clear overreach of the constitutional authority of the federal executive branch. And I believe it is our role as local representatives and our Tennessee state elected officials as well to stand in the gap for our citizens and do our best to protect them from such power grabs. So I appreciate Chairwoman Jones placing this on the HUE agenda this month despite her opposition to it. And I appreciate the committee bringing this resolution to us. Going forward, I would like to ask our county attorney to do a little research on 2 questions, if she would do that for us, for her trustee sidekick. First question is, what can we do here in the county, if anything, to protect our county employees from being fired or losing their jobs due to this potential mandate, if it's to be implemented? And the second question is there anything that we can do more broadly to protect all workers in our county? I know those are big questions, especially the second one, and complicated questions. So I would just like to ask that you guys look into that a little bit, if you wouldn't mind. And they could present their findings on those questions to our employee comp committee and our CIA committee. And maybe even Chairman Carragher at our CI committee, we can get Alicia Summers or someone to come talk to us this month or whenever soon, who has their finger on the pulse of our employers in our county about the potential workforce implications of this. Because I think the potential workforce implications are huge, just based off of what we're seeing in the news lately. I mean, turn the news on. On a positive note, we might even be able to fill some of the vacant positions in our sheriff's department with officers who have lost their jobs in other places that would move here. But for tonight, Mr. Chairman, I would like to offer a small amendment to strengthen the language of this resolution just a little bit. I move we amend the resolution by adding the following words to the end of section 1. And urges our respective elected leaders to strongly oppose such government actions. And I gave a copy of this to the clerk to help them get the wording of my motion. So if the amendment passes, section 1 would read in its entirety as follows. Section 1, Washington County hereby declares its objection to federal, state, and local government engagement with COVID-19 related issues with respect to private employers and urges our respective elected leaders to strongly oppose such government action. So I would like to move that as an amendment, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we have an amendment being offered. Motion for that amendment, Commissioner Tester, Commissioner Wheeler?
I'll second.
You seconds the amendment. All right, so we have a motion and a second on the amendment. We'll open the floor for discussion on the amendment.
Call for the question.
Question's been called on the amendment. All in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed?
No.
The ayes have it. We will move back to the original resolution as amended. We'll continue to open the floor for discussion on the resolution as amended. Commissioner Ford?
I just have a few words to say about this subject. 50% of the people in this room might be object to what I'm about to say, some 50% I'm not. This is America. And we have a right to decide what we want and what we don't want. And I don't believe in bigger government, I believe in smaller government. I don't believe in government intrusion. I believe that I'm old enough and wise enough to make a decision whether I want a vaccine or not. And I don't think I need to be mandated to be by the government. And I'm out, so I will be supportive.
All right, Commissioner Huffine?
Well, as Commissioner Wheeler said,
It cuts both ways. I will say the word mandate I have never cared for.
I truly believe in freedom, in the freedom that we are afforded in this country. I'm opposed to federal, state, local mandates. I have no desire whatsoever to empower our government more than they are right now. However, I find it a major concern that we as a society are currently in a situation that the government would even have to consider mandates. Statistically, and this is local, from ballot health, 90% of the people that are hospitalized plus have not had vaccination. We consider ourselves the most intelligent society in the world. I will submit, is this behavior supporting that statement? Beyond that, the Bible in John 13:34, a new commandment I give to you, that you love one another just as I love you. I submit, are we as a society adhering to that? Are we loving one another? Are we wearing our masks? Are we taking every precaution that we possibly can? Can any of you tell me that you are taking every precaution to to limit the spread when we've seen it continue to escalate. Now, it's starting to drop, thank goodness. But I implore you to consider taking the vaccination, and most definitely, take a flu shot. Our healthcare is already stressed enough. Do we want to have a major outbreak of flu and add to that stress? If for no other reason, do it because you love yourself, you love your spouse, your children, your parents, your neighbors. Thank you.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. For me, I think some reference this as a healthcare issue or a vaccine issue. For me, it's not really that. It is a much larger and broader issue and one of overreach from our federal government. And so in some ways, I would argue you could replace COVID-19 and the vaccine issue with any number of things. In fact, last month, I spoke out about an overreach by our state government as it relates to zoning in historic zoning districts and the use of building materials. None of you seemed that excited about those items, but for me last month, it was an example of an overreach from our state government meddling in local government issues, things that ought to be left to the local government. So I'm in support of health care, I'm in support of vaccines, but I'm not in support of overreach by our federal or state governments on any number of issues and matters. Further, the lack of civility bothers me. Even I hear rumblings from some of you tonight. We all, I think, and certainly I tried to be attentive as each one of you spoke, and yet when it's our turn, some of you are not as attentive or you find it necessary to make comments. And that, the lack of civility and respect, disappoints me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Williams?
I'm probably the oldest one around here. So I will say one thing. I remember in Irwin, where I grew up, when the Salk polio vaccine came about, and there was no controversy like we've experienced over this COVID-19 vaccine. And I think what has been said, I think people can think the way they want to think. It's up to you. If you want to take the chance, I've been fully vaccinated and boosted, but that's my privilege. And that's right. The other thing I want to say is I appreciate this group that I don't always agree, but they're on top of things where the citizens of Germany ignored what was being developed in Germany during the 1930s. And the Holocaust came, World War II came, and it was because the citizens ignored their responsibility. And I do not think that that's happened in Washington County. I think they've come forth to express themselves, their concern. That's all I want to say.
Question. Question's been called. We'll be voting on the resolution as amended.
I've got a question on the vote. We vote yes, we're voting to agree to send the letter. To send the letter, okay.
Yes. And that was resolution 21-1004 that was amended. All right, the question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, please. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 14 yes, 1 no, and the resolution passes. Commissioner Wheeler?
Mr. Chairman, if this resolution is going to have any real effect, our state General Assembly going into session this week, I don't know how we do this with the mayor, but he'd be available to sign, but if we don't get this delivered this tomorrow, it will not have much effect.
I'm sure that Sherry will be able to contact him tomorrow, and I'll work with Sherry, and whatever it takes, we'll do our very utmost best to get that done.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Jones, we're back to you.
No further questions, that's all I have today.
All right. All right, seeing no other business on the HUE Committee, the Public Safety Committee, Commissioner Wheeler. Hold on, Commissioner Wheeler. Yes, Commissioner Wheeler.
You'll find on page 94 our minutes of the October 7th, 2021 meeting. We have one resolution for your consideration this evening. That's resolution number 2110-10, a resolution authorizing Washington County, Tennessee's acceptance of U.S. Department of Transportation Hazardous Materials Emergency Planning Grant for fiscal year 2021-2022. That's on page 97 of your packet. It comes as a recommendation from the committee, and I move for its approval.
Motion made by Commissioner Wheeler, seconded by Commissioner Carriger to approve the resolution. Discussion or question?
Call for question.
Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, please. Go ahead and cast your vote, lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 15 yes, the resolution passes. Commissioner Wheeler? Right. Next item is the Public Works Committee, Commissioner Davenport.
Yes, you'll find our minutes of our October 7th meeting on page 121. We have two resolutions for you tonight. First resolution is resolution number 2110-05, resolution authorizing the disposition of Highway Department surplus property on gov deals, and that does come before you in the form of a motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Davenport, seconded by Commissioner Edens to approve the resolution. Questions or discussion?
Call for question.
Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, please. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in.
Hush, hush.
Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 15 yes, and the resolution passes. Commissioner Davenport?
Yes, next resolution is 2110-08, resolution naming right-of-way of Title Circle to Red and Tasty Lane.
Did you name that, Commissioner Davenport?
Tomatoes, ain't that a tomato farm, Bill?
Thank you. Yes, it is.
All right.
And that is in the form of a motion.
Yes, thank you. Second by Commissioner Huffine. Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, please. Go ahead and cast your vote, lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you announce the vote, 50 yes, and the resolution passes. Anything else, Commissioner Davenport?
No, we do have Highway Superintendent's assistant here tonight. I didn't know if he needed to address.
He can come up to the podium.
I'm just checking. That's all I have, unless anybody's got any questions.
Couldn't he answer where they got the name?
All right. Did we want to start reading that road list again since Doug's here? That was a couple months back. Okay. All right. Our redistricting committee report. You'll find your minutes in the October 7th meeting with attachments. We did have a resolution that came out of the committee. That was resolution number 2110-1B. It's a resolution adopting a redistricting plan for the Washington County, Tennessee regarding the school board and constable districts. Motion made by Commissioner Huffine to approve the resolution, seconded by Commissioner Kate. Commissioner Wheeler? Well, I will tell you, I've not been contacted by the school board, so I don't know. Commissioner Huffine?
Yes. I did attend that meeting, and after lengthy discussions, they voted not to submit any other alternative districting plans, which in effect would default to the plan that we have before us.
And what was the result of that vote?
It was
9-0, 5-4?
It was 2-1 with the remaining of the school board abstaining. Yes,
2-1?
yes.
I think that's not too good.
The 4 members abstained? Commissioner Jones?
I'm just, I also did call and hear that, but also I had a chance to talk with Mayor Grandy, and some of you that have been on the commission maybe know this, but he explained to me that that 3rd district was meant to be more of a neutral party since they don't have one of the major high schools in them. And so it's a few school board members in that district that can kind of look at what's going on objectively and not be sort of feeling like they belong to a specific district.
One thing I did tonight is I asked our election administrator, Ms. Jones, to be here, and I think she could add a little bit of clarification while we try to keep these districts the same as the commission district. Dana, would you care to come up here and help us just a minute? I know I've had several questions about why that was and how that affects our precincts and how you're moving forward with that already.
On the school board, I attended also, and they actually put up a map of Washington County, and they showed where every county student lived in Washington County, and it was really eye-opening for me because they were evenly distributed in the entire county, even in the city, weren't they, Mr. Huffine?
Yes.
It was
Very
real.
consistent throughout the county.
So, and whenever you are cutting precincts for your district lines, you guys do district lines, you have to do it according to total population. Well, the same thing for the school board, they have to have equal population. They can't just keep what they had because it's no longer equal. So just like you all, they have to have equal population. It has to be continuous. So we can't take Steve Light and put you with Mike Ford and put you with Freddie Malone so everybody has a school. You have to run together. And unfortunately, in their case, there was going to be somebody that would be on the outside. So they voted to keep it like it was. So as CTASC had developed it. Yes, sir.
And would you speak, as you did there, the distinction between school board and county commission and the effect that this will, and most specifically, will not have to their members? That Mary Beth will still be able to serve out her term.
Oh, yes, sir, I get what you're saying now. What happens, Mary Beth is not, anybody who would have been displaced by reapportionment, you are elected to office, you do not lose your position. Okay, so Mary Beth is not losing her position. What's changed is that now she lives in 2 instead of 3. Okay, so if she wants to run for school board this coming year, guess what? She can. She can run. If she loses, she's still a school board member for 2 more years. If she wins in August, we have another election within 120 days. So the people of Washington County get to choose her replacement in the November election. At that point, it will come to my office and we will advertise it, issue petitions to people who want to take it, and then they would fulfill her 2-year term. They wouldn't be running for 4 years. They would be running for 2 years to fulfill her term. So nobody has lost their jobs in this. So it's just her job has changed a little bit. And if her argument is that she wants to represent schools, then she can run in 2 because she's got schools in 2. So, and then we can get somebody running for 3 who's running for the students. Not that she's not running for the students, just, there's not a school there.
All right, well, that's interesting information, Dana. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
How's our county commission districts going? Are you working on them any yet, or I know you've been, or is that for another time, I guess?
You guys actually had some questions during your last meeting, and I have answers for those questions if you want them. Someone was asking about the average cost for a precinct. In March 2020, the election for precinct cost only was $39,112.62. So if you divide that by 35, each precinct cost us around $1,117.50. Our August election for 2020 was, again, precinct cost only, $38,633.63. Divide that by 35, it was an average of $1,103 per precinct. And the November election, which was our largest election ever, it was $41,916.77 to run your precincts, and the average cost was $1,197.60. So each election year to run one precinct, it costs Washington County taxpayers $3,418.92. There was questions about how we set up precincts. Precincts cannot go outside your lines. You're the lines that we look at, okay? So we have to have precincts within each county commissioner's lines. The caveat to us is we don't look at total population. We look at active voters, registered voters. Once you hit 6,000 voters in your district, I have to have a new precinct. That's state law. It's law number 2-3-103. Voting machines are limited to 1,000 voters on each machine. So if you have 6,000 people in a precinct, I've got to have 6 voting machines there. That's state statute 2-3-105. Staffing for precincts is a minimum of 4 with an extra machine operator and a registrar for every 2 machines. That's also state 2-4-102. And the reason why I can't go outside your district boundaries is state law 5-1-111. So that's kind of how we set things up. We did cut precincts today, and what we actually did, we looked at past precincts, we looked at our current voters, our voters in 2020, we looked at who actually voted, those who early voted, those who did mail-in ballots, and then those who walked into the precincts. We had one precinct we staffed, 2 people showed up to. We had another precinct we staffed, nobody showed up to on election day. So yes, we did collapse precincts, but we did it based off of historical data. If they're going to early voting and they're doing mail-in ballots, we joined your precincts together. If you want to come up and see your precincts, I should have hard copy of them tomorrow, and I'll be glad to sit down and go over them with you and tell you what our mind thought was and where we were going. Yes, ma'am? Oh, I thought you had a question, Ms. Jones. Oh, no. No, okay, sorry.
All right.
Any questions?
Dana, thank you very much. I know we had some questions. Oh, Commissioner Tester, I'm sorry, did you have your hand up?
Not for her, sir.
Okay.
I was getting ready for...
Okay. Well, all right, we'll start off with you, Commissioner Tester.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to highlight what Commissioner Jones said earlier about the idea of the 3rd district being neutral. And I would invite you to flip your packet over and look at it. And somebody tell me where the kids in that district who go to county schools, what schools they would go to, and what high school they would go to. I'm pretty sure it's Boone Street, Boone, Gray. So in our county, I think to underestimate the Crockett versus Boone rivalry, or whatever you want to call it, I think we would be amiss if we underestimate that. And I question whether that 3rd one is neutral the way it's laid out. I think that may be the intent, and I think that has historically been the intent, is to have one that's predominantly Crockett, one that's predominantly Boone, the other one that's somewhat neutral or equal, if you will, so that you don't get a disproportionate representation on the school board for one over the other. And so that would be my comment there, and the question to all of you is to think about whether that really is neutral the way it's laid out. And we do have some time to tweak this if we want to.
Commissioner Huffman?
I will tell you that part of the discussion among the school board, because they had that included in their discussion, that they almost unanimously agreed that they really were responsible for all the children within the Washington County school system, and that the actions they took were based on what would be the benefit to every single student, not just the specific students within their districts. They understand that they are representing that district, but they have to make decisions and weigh what is best across the entire student body. So while I understand concerns, and I think we all share that, I will commend them for taking that approach and looking at what is the true benefit of every single student out there, not just one specific area.
Call question?
Commissioner Harris, he had his hand.
I just say, when you have the school board, if I understood you right, they voted 2-1 to 4. Four of them abstained.
They voted 2-1.
And, my concern is that, that I know what the election registrar just said, but, and Mary Beth has done such a fine job, in my opinion, on that school board, and so much training and experience that she has under her belt. And we're essentially, yes, she'll stay 2 years, but we're putting her in a district that she's never run in a whole area away from where she's been. So I feel like if we approve this, we're pretty much going to get her beat when she runs again, if she runs again. I think we're going to lose some real experience. And I can't vote for anything that's going to do that to her. I think she's too much of an asset to our school system. I don't know who drew these lines. I heard CTAS, I guess. I hope they're the ones that nobody here locally got involved in it and penciled her out. I wasn't involved in that. So, but if CTAS done it, I guess they done it. But it's, I just don't like the idea of drawing her out of this at all.
Mr. Pate done it from the zoning office. That's who laid out the lines, Commissioner Harris. Commissioner Ford?
Last redistricting, I remember, we lost 2 school board members in my district. This time we're losing another in another district. And this vote don't seem too commendable to me, 4 abstaining, 2 for, and 1 no. I can't support it. I like it is.
Commissioner Ford or Commissioner Carrigan?
We do look a lot alike, and I can understand your...
Well, it's just, my blood sugar has dropped.
The brothers here. I agree with Commissioner Huffine. I would hope, just when we're serving here as commissioners, we look at what's best for the whole county. Second point I want to make is that it's not Phil Carter's seat. This belongs to the people of Washington County. It's not your seat. It belongs to the people of Washington County. So with that said, I'm going to support this resolution.
Well, I just want to bring it to your attention, the way the numbers are and the way the lines are, we can move these lines around, but, pretty much, if I'm not mistaken, Chris, you correct me, whichever way you move the line, somebody's out of their district. We've tried to do that, to fix that. Isn't that?
That is correct.
Okay. So I don't want to be the one picking and choosing who's out, is what I'm saying. So, I mean, I guess that's why we brought you the map, that's why Chris brought the map to you. That's why we wanted you to review it, the school board to review it. So I don't, this is kind of where we are on it. Commissioner Huffine?
One final comment, I promise. With regards to the vote, you had some members of the school board, to your point, that somebody was going to be out, so there were individuals that abstained because the impact. Is it me or you? Secondly, they did have the opportunity themselves, if they felt that it was of a major concern, those ones that abstained probably should have taken either a positive or negative stance to it. I think that's probably the first time, as I understand, that maybe the school board had an opportunity to give input. So I want to commend us for giving them that opportunity. As far as a comment of someone losing their district or displacing them, I think we're going to get on a very slippery slope if we go in that direction. And our ethics would start to fall into question. If I was drawing out, well, I want this because all of my family lives over here, or all of my church members, or all of my civic group, I can get this many votes. I personally don't want to go there. I would hope as a commission, we are, to Commissioner Carringer's comment, we are representing the people of the county, wherever they may live, whatever the district may be today or what it will be tomorrow. And I will conclude with that, sir.
All right, Commissioner Harrison?
Well, I would say this, I represent the people in Limestone, but I also represent the people in the whole county. And I think this group has shown that, especially with this Bitcoin. You all have shown that you represent everybody. But I'll also say this, if I came to Commissioner Jones's district, I probably wouldn't get 50 votes. If she came down to mine, she probably wouldn't get 50 votes. I mean, I'm not picking on you, I'm just saying there's a big difference. And when you take somebody who's represented in an area like Mary Beth has for all these years, and you change it completely, and you send her down from Johnson City to Limestone and whatever, if I'm saying, I'm just dividing the lines out. I know that it's a hard decision to make, but why was she the one picked? I mean, who makes the decision? I mean, who's picking and choosing? She got picked out. So it could have been anybody, but I don't like it. I'm just one person.
Well, the last time we redistricted, we ended up redistricting out two board members instead of one. So, yeah, they were both on our other side. So, Commissioner Tester, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand up.
No problem, Chairman. I just wanted to say quickly, I think it's great that we all, and the school board members, all want to try to do what's best for everybody in the county. But ultimately, when the rubber hits the road, the responsibility, the accountability is at the voting booth. It's the people who vote for you. So, I mean, people in Ken's district are not voting for me for commission. And people in your district aren't voting for me for commission. So that's really where the rubber meets the road as far as your votes and who you're representing. I mean, that's what we have in districts. That's the whole point of representative democracy. And a representative republic. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Tester.
Has the question been called yet?
The question has not been called. Commissioner Davenport almost did, and Commissioner Harris stopped him. So, all right. The question's been called. Madam Clerk switches to the voting screen. We do have a motion and second on this resolution. One we're voting on is 2110-1B. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, you can announce the vote. 9 yes, 6 no, and the resolution passes. That concludes my report this evening from the Redistricting Committee. Is there any further questions? Seeing none, the Rules Committee, Commissioner Tester.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make this real quick, so I can find the right page of my notes. on page 131, we had a good discussion again about the budget process and about trying to involve the commission more in that whole process as we go throughout the year and as we get towards budget season. And had some good ideas that hopefully next month we will have to use in the form of a rule. So, anybody have any questions? That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. I was disappointed to see Chris Pate leave, but maybe he's not gone yet. But I just want to recognize Chris for all the work he's done. Yeah, I think he's right there at the door, but I don't know. Chris, come on up here at this podium just a minute. You're awful fast about moving when the topic's over. Yeah, we decided. I'm not saying that, Mitch. Chris, we wanted to take a minute to thank you for all your hard work that you've done here and away from this office. I know you have. And all those maps, all the things you've been doing to coordinate these resolutions with Allison, we want to thank you for everything you've done.
This is probably the fastest one, so here's hopefully it goes just
I hope.
not so confident on that.
Well, it's the fastest one I've ever been involved in, and I've been in 3 different ones. Commissioner Wheeler?
Mr. Chairman, I think Chris needs to check around with his counterparts across the state. I wouldn't be surprised if we weren't the fastest in the state.
We're one of the fastest. I know there's a few that have it. They also had 0 growth or like -2% growth. So Dingoes are literally like, let's just readopt what we already have.
Very
In
good.
a perfect world, that's what we would have done. But we're lucky. We got a lot of growth, so we should be happy about that.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes. You worked hard.
We just want to thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate all your work, and I just can't.
You're welcome. You're all welcome. I can do anything to help you with all. Please let me know, okay?
Okay, we sure will. Thank you, Chris. All right, our next item is the Washington County Library Board of Trustees. Mayor Grandy serves on that committee, and the minutes of that are in your packet on page 145. Move right along to the Washington County Owned Property Committee. Commissioner Carriger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The minutes are on page 159, and I'm glad to answer any questions anybody might have. We've been busy, and we've got another busy day ahead of us next week at looking at our county-owned property and trying to convert some of it into cash and do something other than just have it sitting there. If there's no questions, Mr. Chairman, we'll move on to our resolution.
Absolutely.
Number 211009, and this is the resolution authorizing the interlocal agreement with the City of Johnson City regarding the Ash Street Courthouse project and establishing a member of the Board of County Commissioners to serve as liaison to facilitate and advance the project. I have a question. I would think Commissioner Jones ought to be our perfect choice for that because she's really been very involved with the South Side neighborhood, very involved with the building, so I don't know if we need to make that a separate motion or if we need to amend this resolution.
It's still in the blank.
Yeah, it's your motion, so I'd say.
Just take it on home, Mayor, on that motion.
Fill in the blanks.
Well, I would like to amend the resolution that where there is a blank for who the commissioner is going to be, that it be Commissioner Jones is appointed to serve as the liaison, facilitate, and advance the Ash Street Courthouse project.
All right.
That would be my amendment.
That'll be your amendment. All right, let's vote on that amendment first.
Yes,
You want
sir.
to get that done?
Yes, sir.
All right, so we have an amendment by Commissioner Carriger. There's the amendment seconded by Commissioner Malone. I seen his hand go up. So this amendment that we're voting on is to add Commissioner Jones to the resolution, is serving on that committee. Is there any discussion or questions before we vote?
Call for question.
Question's been called on the amendment. All in favor of that amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, Congratulations, Commissioner Jones, you have made it to the resolution.
Now we've got the resolution.
I have another amendment, though.
Oh,
Can I do that now?
go ahead, while you're hot.
Well, we've got, yes, go with your amendment now, Commissioner Jones.
The amendment is that we add under the third whereas, in March of 2020, the county and city worked with and through the Heritage Alliance of Northeast Tennessee and the Johnson City Development Authority and the Southside Neighborhood Organization to fund a feasibility study, which go on from there. So it's adding the Southside Neighborhood Organization, who contributed $1,000 to the feasibility study, and adding the word study, which is missing.
Second.
All right, so we do have an amendment. Commissioner Jones. Allison, are you close to getting that written down?
I think I am.
All right, and we have a second by Commissioner Wheeler. Would you read that back one time for us?
For me to read back?
Would you please?
That is going to modify the third whereas to read that in March 2020, the county and the city worked with and through the Heritage Alliance of Northeast Tennessee and the Johnson City Development Authority and I will tell you, I did put ... because I know I've got their name written on another document, but since you've asked me to read it, what is the name of the Southside Neighborhood?
Southside Neighborhood
Organization, okay, good, that's actually what I wrote. And the Southside Neighborhood Organization to fund a feasibility, insert the word study, which was omitted, which in September 2021 was accepted by the county.
Right. All right, so we have a motion and a second for that amendment. Do we have any questions before we vote on the amendment?
Call for question.
Question's been called on the amendment. We're getting ready to vote on the amendment. All in favor of that amendment to the resolution signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign.
No.
And the ayes have it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Motion
We'll
passes.
try to get through if there's no more.
We need to go back and vote on the resolution
Yes, sir,
now as
we do.
amended.
We do, and I might say that my questions have been answered by our attorney. I think our attorney drafted the interlocal agreement and the resolution, and I'm comfortable with us entering into this. I was a little concerned about county liabilities, but I think our attorney has taken care of these concerns.
Commissioner Ford?
I'm on that committee also, but I'd like to know what reassured your mind.
Well, when I read the new document. It had a little...
I hadn't seen the document. Except, this first. When we left the meeting the other day, you weren't comfortable with it, no.
Right, and I reread the new document. It has taken some of the concerns.
So you're satisfied with the new document?
Yes,
all the way through?
yes, I am. But I was just worried that the old document, in my mind, there was some paragraphs in there that made me worried about county liability, and I think our attorney has addressed those issues.
Yes, I think our attorney almost drafted a new document and sent to the city, yes. So, Commissioner Tester, I see you trying to have your hand up.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, the new document's the one that was on our table tonight, right?
Yes.
Actually, no.
No.
May I?
Yes.
Thank you. The new document, the packet includes a new interlocal agreement, all right? So the contract, the interlocal agreement that you see in your packet was rewritten to address the concerns that were discussed in county-owned property, the liability exposure, all of the risk being on the county with none of the control. So it was rewritten, and it was distributed to Johnson City, and on Friday, they raised a question or two. One of them was a title being incorrect, and they sent that to me, and I immediately sent, it took me the day, revised the agreement to address their one concern. That's what's on your desk this evening, all right? So the one that is attached to the resolution is the one that's in your packet that's completely rewritten so that the county has the control over the contracts, well, not control over the contracts, but is a beneficiary of the contracts, and it just takes that risk exposure. And I won't burden you with it unless you have certain questions, but it also states that the county is not purchasing anything. That was a very big issue, and that there's nothing that will be agreed that will limit the county's use. You know, the legislative body has the authority to repair and renovate property, and they levy a tax to do so. And so you have that authority as the legislative body, and you can hire someone to superintend that process. That's effectively what you're doing with Johnson City, is they're taking on that process. And if they enter a contract for work, they are required to state to the contracting party that it's not their building, and that they're entering into it by and through the authority that they got from the county, so that the county has the benefit of that contract if there's an issue. Later on, if some of that work, et cetera, that flows back to the county, those rights and obligations.
Commissioner Wheeler?
So what we're being asked to approve is the one that was on the table tonight.
No, I thought we were asking to approve what's in our packet.
I'm asking the county attorney, the one that's on the table, is that Johnson City's changes that they're wanting us to approve?
The one that's on the table is my effort to memorialize what the city attorney told me was their concern, but I didn't hear back from them one way or the other on this draft. But I'm putting it out there, and had they been here, I just want to make sure it was in front of everyone. Their concern, one is that I had misstated her title. The second one is that they wanted something memorializing the state's expectation of the funding. And so that's the biggest change there for you to see, is that Johnson City wanted something to memorialize the state's expectation, which the county didn't participate in. So it's written that the city is making a representation about what they told the state, and that those uses would not limit the county, because, the county, it's county-owned property. And so, I know there's a lot of talk about a public use being in the deed, but in fact, the statute says what county-owned, that it'll always be for county purposes. And so you have some authority to approve different type of uses, but that was not in the agreement that was in your packet, because I don't have the grant, I didn't have that information. Then they shared that it was part of a PowerPoint, some summary details, which I attempted to memorialize, but I don't know if Johnson City approves of the revisions that I made.
And I'm sorry, Commissioner Carrier, I didn't mean to open a can of worms, but so what the committee's asking us to approve is the one that was in the packet?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I get it. Okay.
That's the original one?
Commissioner Tester?
It's the one that was in
Is
the
our
packet.
attorney is comfortable with the one in the packet, right?
Yes, but I would say that I definitely want to be sure that I put Ms. Santos's proper title, or any other big, small little change like a comma or something. I would want your authority to make that change. But yes, sir, absolutely, I am as comfortable as can be. We put a lot of effort into that, so good to go.
Commissioner Kate?
What I don't understand, maybe somebody can explain this to me. The property we're talking about, the old 911 building, is owned by the city of Johnson City.
No.
It's not owned by the city of Johnson City. I'm sorry. Washington County.
Yes.
I misspoke. Now, I don't understand why we want to go and get into agreements with City of Johnson City when they don't have an interest in it. I don't understand how somebody can tell me how they could go to the state of Tennessee and get funding for a building they don't know.
It's called $5 million in politics.
Yeah, but it's still, I'm just afraid that it's gonna come up and bite us. I mean, why do we wanna get, you're gonna have, 3 or 4 different groups you're gonna have to try and make happen. To me, the best thing to do is get rid of that building, if we can, sell it to the city and let them take it if we can. And not have to.
Well, you know, I think that $5 million is going to go to rehab the building, and I think that would be up in all parties.
Well,
The state thinks that.
It would, but I mean, all these different groups that you have to maintain. I mean, that's what I don't understand, when it's the county building,
It's not the county's building, really.
then whose building is it?
It's the federal government's.
But we have a right to use it.
We have a right to use it, but if we do not use the building, it reverts back to the federal government, who will sell it, they said, in 2 or 3 years, when we declare we don't need it anymore. So, yes,
After reviewing the deeds, it actually has been deeded to us, it just reverts if it's not public use.
Right.
It's not a matter of them, you know, I mean, it's actually deeded to the county. So I
Well,
don't think just reversion, I mean, that's a standard reversionary clause that you see in deeds. It doesn't mean that it reverts if we quit using it for public use.
Right.
If we sell it to Johnson City, we don't have to give the federal government's approval. That's a public use, so
well, we can give it to them, couldn't we, Commissioner?
we can give it to them, sell it to them, we can give it to any other public entity. And we would deed it with the same, subject to that reversionary clause, but we do actually own it.
Department of General Services said they will take it back and sell it.
The problem we've got is $5 million has got to be spent by June 30th, and that's putting a little pressure to get this done. But it's state money, and it's going to rehab a building that we own, and we want to do something with it later, I guess we can.
Why not give?
Commissioner Jones, you got your hand up.
I don't know.
This will answer your question, Commissioner Kate, but those questions have been asked, and even Commissioner Malone raised a great point, like, why don't we let the city take it from here, since they had the ingenuity to get the $5 million, and that may be the thing to do. So I think what we need is some problem solving and discussion from this point forward. What you don't see as much in this writing and in the interlocal agreement was that in our county-owned property committee, we, with the help of Ms. Wilkinson, established that the county commission is the group that is responsible for the upkeep and maintenance and decision about this building. So and I appreciate you all putting your trust in me, we have somebody to kind of shepherd that decision-making process, and if that's what we decide to do, that's fine. One of the things that I loved about Ms. Wilkinson's writing of the resolution and the interlocal agreement was that it puts the tools in our hands for taking advantage of the governor's generosity and the city's ingenuity and making that $5 million happen, because this building has been of interest for a long time. It was at the bottom of our capital expenses list, and there was like nothing going to happen to it because we didn't have the money to fix it. Well, now we do, and that's great. But also, the wording of her resolution, it's not hers, the one she wrote for us, really realigns the fact that this has been a community effort from the beginning. So the neighborhood, the county, and the JCA all put money in toward the feasibility study. Pete Peterson told me in a meeting a couple of weeks ago, that feasibility study saved the city 6-8 weeks in the process they're trying to do real super fast track right now with that $5 million. So, it's kind of like playing a basketball game where we're passing the ball back and forth toward the goal. And I thought that the resolution did a nice job of describing the history of working with the Heritage Alliance, working with other stakeholders to see what we can do. The resolution and the interlocal agreement allow us to go forward, the tools we need to go forward from here and take advantage of the funding, but they don't tell us what is the ultimate use and who is going to manage this from that point forward. And we will need to be really active and engaged with that process, and that's something that I take a strong interest in. So that's all I have to say about that.
Commissioner Harris?
I just got one question simply. Did we ever figure out a use for the building? No use, okay.
Commissioner Carrigan?
Mr. Chairman, I'm saying, to me, I think, let's go ahead and get the $5 million, to get the building rehab. If we want to sell it or give it away at a later date, we can still do that. But it just seems smart to me. We own the building. The governor's offered $5 million to rehab the building. To me, it seems like it's smart to take him up on his $5 million. And then if we want to sell it or use it for county offices, whatever, let's make that decision after the building's been rehabbed.
Commissioner Ford?
If I'm wrong, you might maybe.
The building we don't have use for.
If we go with this interlocal agreement, it looks to me like the Johnson City's gonna be calling all the shots. And I might, with you on the legislature committee, or whatever you call it, how much input are we as a county gonna have in their future decisions on what office goes in there, what office doesn't go in there? Or, and I know for a fact that we need early voting for it, and that'd be a perfect idea to play for. That's what I'm saying, will it be, if we should go to this agreement, that's what I'm asking you.
The way the interlocal agreement reads to me, puts
some good strength back in the county in terms of executing it and moving it forward. And I'll just say, from what I understand from the design build team, the main focus for this $5 million is just to fix the guts of the building, not to start preparing it for a specific purpose. If we expedite a decision about the purpose and we get it decided on fast, then they may be able to do some things for that purpose before the year's up. But most likely, this is just going to be plumbing, electrical, and a bunch of stuff, asbestos abatement, that sort of thing.
Dampness issues.
Right, right.
Commissioner Malone?
Yeah, this may help address Commissioner Ford's question, because it's a very good one, and it's been my concern, because I don't think I really knew until last month what the city had planned in terms of a future use and the reasons for which they asked for the money. And that's why I prefer, of the two versions of the interlocal agreement, subject to the minor corrections in the headings and titles, I prefer the version that is in our package dated 10/19 as opposed to the version dated 10/22. And Commissioner Jones's point, I think the primary point at the moment is there is a deadline about when this money has to be spent and rehab the building. The interlocal agreement really should not, nor do we want it to, address the future use. That remains solely in the county legislative body. But, and that's the revision from the city that I don't like in the 1022 version, is item 8, because that would seem to want to restrict the county's future use, not entirely, but in some ways. And I think to Commissioner Tate's point, I too question, is the county really the best one to rehab this building and decide how it gets used in the future? I really don't think it is. But I've also learned, based on a couple conversations with representatives from the city and our county mayor, the city doesn't really want the building long-term. They don't want the maintenance, they don't want the upkeep, they don't want the responsibility, and they believe that there are other stakeholders that are in a better position to help determine its future use. Those might be in terms of economic development or tourism, et cetera. And so it's my understanding, I had wanted to just sell it to or give it to the city as well, but it's my understanding that the city really does not want it on a long-term basis.
Commissioner Kate?
Well, if the city doesn't want it, why do we want it? I mean, why do we want to get in it any further?
First of all, it's a very prime location, and I would suggest our representative, Commissioner Jones, get some group together besides the JCDA and Heritage
Commissioner Davenport.
Yeah, I think I said this last month, so I'm going to say it again. My biggest concern is we get in this, we spend the $5 million, and we need more million, or we're going to leave something hanging, or we're going to lose $5 million. And that's my concern. We have no idea, once we spend that $5 million that we're getting from the state, which we're all excited about, and I'm excited about it, that will generate jobs in our area, it'll generate those kind of things for us, and that's great. But what happens when you spend that $5 and you need more money? That's the biggest concern to me. It was last month, and it is this month.
Commissioner Carriger?
I think one question I'll put to the commissioners, come July the 1st, do you want the same old run-down building you got, or you want one that's had $5 million worth of repairs done to it?
If it's gonna cost me millions and I have no use.
I don't know what.
I don't either.
I know it's gonna cost the state $5 million. That's the question. Come July the 1st, do you want the same old building that's got problems, or do you want one that's got new plumbing, electrical, and being rehabbed? And hopefully they'll take care of the moisture problems too.
And that's my concern, hopefully.
Yeah.
All right?
We're not committing for any money.
Yeah.
No, we're not.
But we're not committing any, but we're gonna send a message to the people in Washington County that we just wasted $5 million because we really need to spend $3 more million.
It's not our money.
To finish.
I mean, it's the taxpayers of Tennessee.
All right, we're getting a little off track.
Let's call the question.
We got a couple still wanting to speak, and the county attorneys want to speak. Go ahead, Allison, you're next.
If I could just direct you to a couple of provisions that are in this agreement that address the issues that you've raised. So starting on page 164 of the packet, page 2 of the agreement under purpose, it's expressly understood that the agreement is entered into for the purpose of the county allowing the city to superintend the repair of the Ash Street Courthouse. The county expressly reserves all rights with respect to any decision-making process in conjunction with the Ash Street Courthouse project that would determine or limit the future use of the Ash Street Courthouse. So that's your question about who decides how the building is used. Paragraph 5 on the next page, the city shall probably give notice to the county of any unforeseeable conditions affecting the project. Such conditions include, but are not limited to, a need for additional funding in excess of the $5 million recited herein in order to complete the work. And then finally, paragraph 7, after much discussion over the process, the end paragraph has a final sentence that says, the city has no authority to bind the county with respect to any matters requiring the building owner's approval or authorization unless the county provides such approval in writing. So those are some big issues that you've raised about exposure to liability.
Commissioner Tester?
I just wanted to ask, other than the fact that $5 million has to be spent by June 1st, June 31st, July 31st, okay. So other than that, are there any strings attached to the $5 million coming from the state in terms of use or anything else?
Not to us. We don't have agreements with anything.
Does anybody know?
The city's the one that would have that issue. We had no involvement in $5 million.
Which would mean none of those strings would bind up.
Would bind up. Okay.
Commissioner Jones?
I would just say that to me, this feels like a parallel to the industrial park, in that we get grants and we dump millions of dollars into a pad that has sewer and plumbing, and we hope that an investor or somebody's going to come along and take advantage of that and run it and make money there and grow the economy. And this is just a historic property, and it looks different, but it has the same function.
Commissioner Whalen?
The one thing that I just noticed that the city had suggested having in, that would actually prohibit them from agreeing to this, is that on page 3 of 7,
Talking about that?
Of 1022.
Yes, of the 1022 agreement, page 3 of 7. On the indemnity language, they've asked to add, to the extent allowed by Tennessee law, a municipality in Tennessee cannot sign a general a general indemnity agreement unless that language is in there. So it needs to say, to the extent allowed by Tennessee law. So I would offer that as an amendment to the one in the packet. But if we don't do that, they'll reject it, which will stir up the rest of this again. But they have to reject it. They cannot sign it with that language like that.
All right, we have that.
They had a whole month, and why do they wait till October 23rd?
Well, they responded to Ms. Wilkinson's version and asked to add that, and it does need to be added if we expect them to pass it.
So they responded on 10/22 is 10/25, weekend in between.
So,
That sounds like their problem. I hate to be hard about it.
well, if they sign it, it's an ultra-virus act. It's against state law. They can't even sign, they won't sign the agreement with that.
That's just the legality.
Is that an amendment you're offering, Commissioner Wheeler?
I would offer that as an amendment, because otherwise I think we get the contract rejected and we're back to looking at these other changes they want. But,
And if I
So-
may, I'll jump in behind there just to say, I had phrased it as allowed by Tennessee law, intending for it to say to the extent, so the language is agreeable to the county to make that change. So the only real significant issue was the new paragraph 8.
Do we have a second on that amendment?
Second.
Who seconded it? Seconded by Commissioner Huffine. All right.
Somebody read that too.
so,
And a point of order, if I may, I wonder if it's, at this point, I wonder if it's not easier to approve, and this is the question for the county attorney, is it easier to approve the 1022 version minus item 8 that begins on page 3 of 7? Is it easier to simply approve that version?
Well, if you do that, that would change the complete thing that we're voting on. Right,
The rest of your sentence will change what?
it would change, well, never mind. Just read that back to us, and we'll come back to Freddie here in a minute. Can you read back Commissioner Wheeler's amendment?
Commissioner Wheeler has amended the contract, or voted to point out that on page 3 of 7 of the agreement, so if you're looking at your packet, that's on packet page 165, am I right? Yes. And at the top of the page, where it says as allowed by Tennessee law, it would be changed to the extent allowed by Tennessee law.
All right, and that's the amendment that's being offered. We had a motion and a second to that amendment. Now, Commissioner Malone, I don't think I understood what you were saying. Were you saying that to go back to the table version and just scrap what we've done so far, or?
Well, I'm not, has there been a vote yet on the interlocal agreement at all? I don't think there has been. So I was asking the county attorney if that was perhaps easier, because it catches not only the amendment that Commissioner Wheeler has offered, but it catches the other minor correction. That's what I would characterize as fairly insignificant corrections, but that if we approve the October 22nd version, we completely remove item 8. And again, I was just posing something to our county attorney in the attempt to make it easier and simpler, but that may not have been the case.
Allison?
Yes, sir. If you choose to approve the amended version minus paragraph 8, you catch all the changes, but you don't have to add that one. So yes, that would do, it's the same but different. However you want to do it is fine. There's 4 changes, I think, that were proposed. 3 of them are of no material term. One of them is, that's paragraph 8, that's the one that you have objected to. So you could approve the 1022 version that is on your table tonight minus paragraph 8, and you would catch the changes, you would have the description of state funding, you would have the insertion of the word study, you would have the change in the Sandoz's title, and you would have the to the extent for Tennessee law.
So may I ask a question? So,
Yes.
the opposite question, if we take what's in our packet dated 10/19 and we simply go to page 165 at the top of the page and we insert extent
You would strike as and add to the extent.
to the extent, then we have something we can approve versus doing this.
Some other minor correction.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
doesn't encompass them all.
Exactly. Okay, so I think that, since we've already discussed that, that may be more simplistic to do.
All right, we got an amendment on the floor, Commissioner Wheeler's amendment. We have a second. The attorney read the amendment back to you. Commissioner Huffine was the second. We're going to go ahead and vote on that amendment. Is there any questions, or do you need Allison to read that amendment one more time? Okay, Allison, would you please read that one more time? And just as soon as she hits the period, I'm calling for the question. Go ahead.
On page 165, on page 165 of your packet. So the final paragraph of final sentence of paragraph 2 will be revised as follows. This third-party beneficiary status entitles Washington County to contractual indemnity by the city, strike the word as, insert to the extent, and the sentence continues, allowed by Tennessee law.
All right.
Thank you.
We have a motion, second. She read it to you. Now, all in favor of the amendment, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign.
No.
Madam Clerk, switch us to the voting screen, please. We're just doing the amendment right now. Unless you will just take a piece of paper and call the roll if you have one of those. Y'all have blowed up the screen. Huh? Yeah. I tried. I've got his mic on.
Y'all do a roll call, Mr. Chairman?
Well, okay, I think we're good here now. All right. Got the voting screen up. Go ahead and cast your vote, mark it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 8 yes, 7 no, and the resolution passes. I'm sorry, the amendment passes. Now we're back to the resolution as amended. And that was Commissioner Carragher's motion.
Man, you deserve it.
We're back to the original as amended, yes.
I'm looking forward to seeing all this down in
Allison said she'll have it before the meeting's over.
Would you like me to read it again?
No. Can you just read it all together? I mean, this is the third time it was amended. All right, any questions, comments? Questions been called? Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us over to the voting screen, please. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 9 yes, 8 no, and the resolution passes. 6 noes, I'm sorry. All right, anything else, Commissioner Carriger? All right, the Water Task Force report, Commissioner Davenport.
Yes, you'll see our
Thank you, Commissioner Davenport. Seeing no further questions, we'll move right along to the Budget Committee report. Commissioner Wheeler?
You'll find our minutes of our October 13th meeting on page 170 of your packet. We've got several resolutions for your consideration. The first is on page 177 of your packet, resolution number 211006, resolution amending fiscal year budget 2021-2022 regarding additional funding. This comes as a recommendation from the committee, and I move for its approval.
Motion made by Commissioner Wheeler. We have a second. Second by Commissioner Huffine to approve the resolution. Discussion? Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 15 yes, and the resolution passes. Commissioner Wheeler?
Resolution number 21-10-07, a resolution amending fiscal year budget 2021-2022 regarding Highway Department to purchase equipment. This comes as a recommendation from the committee, and I move for its approval.
Motion made by Commissioner Wheeler, seconded by Commissioner Malone to approve the resolution. Call. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, please. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 15 yes, and the resolution passes. Commissioner Wheeler?
Next resolution is on page 182 of your packet, resolution number 21-10-11, resolution amending fiscal year budget 2021-2022 regarding funding for deputies. This comes as a recommendation from the committee, and I move for its approval.
Motion made by Commissioner Wheeler, seconded by Commissioner Edens to approve the resolution. Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, please. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 15 yes, and the resolution passes. Commissioner Wheeler?
Our next resolution is found on page 185 of your packet, resolution number 21-10-12, a resolution amending fiscal year budget 2021-2022 to increase the repair line item by the insurance proceeds to cover the unanticipated cost of repairs. That comes as a recommendation from the committee, and I move for its approval.
Motion made by Commissioner Wheeler, seconded by Commissioner Tester to approve the resolution. Question? Commissioner Kate? Oh, questions called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, please. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 15 yes, and the resolution passes. Commissioner Wheeler?
Our next resolution is found on page 187 of your packet, resolution number 21-10-13, a resolution amending fiscal year budget 2021-2022 regarding the Highway Department to purchase a bucket truck. This comes as a recommendation from the committee and I move for its approval.
Motion made by Commissioner Wheeler, second by Commissioner Edens to approve the resolution.
Call for question.
Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, please. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Mr. Jones is here if you want him to address anything about this bucket truck. Madam Clerk, if you announce the votes, 15 yes, the resolution passes. Commissioner Wheeler?
The next resolution is on page 190 of your packet, resolution number 211014, a resolution amending fiscal year budget 2021-2022 regarding the Sheriff's Department, budget the expenditure and revenue of the coronavirus emergency supplemental funding, video arraignment non-matching grant. This comes as a recommendation from the committee and I move for its approval.
Motion made by Commissioner Wheeler, second by Commissioner Edens, and the question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch to the voting screen, please. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 15 yes, and the resolution passes. Commissioner Wheeler?
Our final resolutions on page 192 of your packet, resolution number 211016, resolution amending fiscal year budget 2021-2022 regarding county buildings, lines and markings on the parking lots at the historic courthouse and justice center. This comes as a recommendation from the committee, and I move for its approval.
Motion made by Commissioner Wheeler, seconded by Commissioner Lott to approve the resolution.
Call for question.
Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, please. Go ahead and cast your vote, lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 15 yes, and the resolution passes. Thank you, Commissioner Wheeler. No old business to report to you this evening except for Resolution 211015 is a resolution approving the election of notaries public for appointment or reappointment for Washington County, Tennessee. Motion made by Commissioner Tester, seconded by Commissioner Carter to approve the resolution. Madam Clerk, if you'll go ahead and switch us to the voting screen, please. Go ahead and cast your vote, lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 15 yes, and the resolution passes. We have no new business to report to you. The cutoff date and time for next month's County Commission agenda is Thursday, November the 11th at 12 noon. Please remember, if you got any business that's got to be done, be ready to do it here in the next couple of months, because December, we don't like to get too excited. So let's keep that agenda light. So if you need something done, November, get it done. We may be light. All in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye. All opposed, like sign.